Summer 2008. Millions of Canadians are eating deli meat from one trusted brand, Maple Leaf Foods, a name nearly 140 years old. Within weeks, 23 of them would be dead. 668,000 kilograms of contaminated product pulled from shelves. One man was blamed for destroying an iconic Canadian food empire. But confidential hiring freeze memos and 70-minute federal inspections suggest the catastrophe was inevitable long before anyone picked up the phone. Across Canada, in the summer of 2008, trust was effortless. Deli meats slid into lunchboxes, sandwiches appeared on hospital trays, and dinner tables filled with cold cuts from a brand older than Confederation itself. Maple Leaf Foods was woven into daily life, its logo stamped on plastic packages stacked in supermarket coolers from Vancouver to Halifax. Few paused to wonder about the journey behind every slice. The meat was ready to eat, needing no cooking, no second thought. In homes, cafeterias, and care facilities, millions of Canadians reached for ham, turkey, roast beef, convenience wrapped in cellophane, sold by a company that had fed generations. The numbers were staggering. Over 200 different Maple Leaf products left the Bartow Road plant each day, bound for grocery chains, schools, and long-term care homes. Hospitals and nursing homes, in particular, relied on bulk shipments, their kitchens serving thousands of meals each week to patients and residents who rarely saw the brand but tasted it daily. In this ordinary routine, risk was invisible. There was no warning in the taste, no sign on the label, no hint that anything had changed. The confidence was nearly absolute. For most, food safety was a distant worry, something handled by unseen experts, checked by government inspectors, and guaranteed by a company that had survived more than a century of change. Yet, beneath this calm, the machinery of mass production moved at relentless speed, slicing, packaging, and shipping at a scale that made a single error unthinkably costly. Every meal carried an unspoken promise that what was trusted could never betray. Inside the Bartow Road plant, the pressure to cut costs was written into policy. In March 2008, a hiring freeze memo landed on managers' desks, instructing them to postpone new hires and defer spending until further notice. The directive, signed by McCain, made clear that every department would be expected to find savings, even as production lines ran at full tilt. For Maple Leaf Foods, efficiency was the order of the day, but the margin for error shrank with every trimmed shift and delayed equipment upgrade. Federal oversight, once considered a backstop, had thinned to a shadow. Canadian Food Inspection Agency logs from that summer show that inspectors spent an average of just 70 minutes per day on the plant floor. Instead of continuous monitoring, regulators relied on paperwork and scheduled walkthroughs, 2 formal inspections in the 6 weeks before the outbreak. One, a 5-hour audit in June, flagged that listeria sampling on slicer surfaces was below best practice. The follow-up in July, clocking in at barely over an hour, noted inconsistent cleaning of the blade housing on lines 8 and 9 but issued no enforcement order. These same lines would soon become the epicenter of national crisis. Gaps widened further with a 30-day testing interval for some product lines. Environmental swabs meant to catch early signs of contamination were stretched thin. The plant's own records show that a positive listeria result on a slicer blade holder in early August failed to trigger immediate plant-wide action. Instead, the information moved slowly up the chain, confined to a small quality control group. In the space between cost controls and minimal inspection, a pathogen found room to grow, unchecked and invisible, until it was too late to contain. A phone rang in the darkness at 12:45 a.m. on August 16, 2008. Michael McCain, President and Chief Executive Officer of Maple Leaf Foods, answered from his cottage north of Toronto. On the other end, the plant manager's voice cut through the silence. 3 Sure Slice products had just tested positive for listeria. There was no time for disbelief or denial. Within hours, McCain was on the line with his food safety team, demanding verification and contingency plans. The Barter Road plant's 2 busiest slicing lines, 8 and 9, were halted before sunrise. By midday, the company had ordered its first recall, 23 varieties of ready-to-eat deli meats, pulled from store shelves and institutional kitchens across the country. The recall covered thousands of packages, but it was only a fraction of the plant's daily output. Still, for a company that prided itself on reliability, the move was seismic. Every minute lost meant more risk, more chance that contaminated meat would reach a hospital tray or a family's dinner table. McCain later called it the toughest situation we've faced in 100 years as a company. The decision to go public was not just about compliance. It was an admission that the promise of safety had been broken. The clock was ticking, and the first wave of containment had begun. But no one yet knew the true human cost that would follow. String on. September 5, 2008, Michael McCain sat before a camera and delivered a public apology that would loop across Canadian airwaves for days. The video was measured, somber, and carefully crafted. McCain looked straight ahead, acknowledging the deaths, the illnesses, and the fear that had swept through homes and hospitals. He called it the toughest situation we have faced in 100 years as a company. The script was clear. Responsibility rested on his shoulders, and the company would not hide. Yet every word was weighed for impact, every pause calculated for effect. The apology was more than remorse. It was a high-stakes maneuver to regain control of the narrative as public outrage mounted. Behind the scenes, PR consultants shaped the message, aiming to humanize the face of the crisis while steering blame away from deeper regulatory and structural failures. The apology aired just as debate erupted over who or what was truly at fault. Debate erupted in newsrooms and living rooms across the country. Some praised Michael McCain's apology as a rare act of corporate honesty, a leader facing the cameras and accepting blame. Others saw a carefully managed performance, crafted to draw attention away from deeper problems. Editorials questioned whether one man's contrition could erase years of thinning inspection regimes and relentless cost-cutting. Headlines shifted between personal accountability and institutional failure, asking if the crisis was truly the result of a single executive's decision or the natural outcome of a system that allowed safety margins to erode. As the story played out, blame became a moving target, no longer fixed on a single face but tangled in the machinery of oversight, profit, and public trust. The question lingered. Was this the failure of one man, or a warning about the limits of self-policing in an industry built on scale and speed? Today, every packaged meal still depends on trust. Trust shaken when 23 died and 57 fell ill, while oversight thinned and executives weighed costs. The question lingers. Does accountability begin and end with one man, or with every system that lets disaster pass in silence? Your thoughts belong below.